Picture this, you're finally throwing a relaxed pool party in your own backyard after months of hell. Celebrating a fresh start with your kids. When the neighborhood's self-appointed queen shows up screaming that it's illegal and the cops are coming. What she didn't know was that I'd been silently collecting her every overreach like ammunition for the perfect takedown. The house in Oakwood Grove looked like the fresh start I desperately needed. After a brutal divorce that left me with custody of my 8-year-old daughter and 11-year-old son, I wanted nothing more than quiet mornings, backyard barbecues, and the kind of normal life where no one screamed about custody schedules. The backyard had a decent pool. The street was lined with neat lawns. And the price was right. Peace. At last. Or so I thought. For days after we moved in, she materialized on my driveway like a pastel-colored enforcer. Karen Mills, HOA president. Hair sprayed into an immovable helmet. Clipboard in hand. Smile sharp enough to cut glass. Mr. Ellis. Welcome to Oakwood Grove, she said. Voice dripping with fake warmth. I'm Karen. We take community standards very seriously here. The covenants are in the packet I left. I'm sure a family man like you will have no trouble fitting in. The way she lingered on family man felt loaded. I smiled anyway. Thanks, Karen. Just trying to give the kids some stability. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Stability is exactly what we protect. Some folks bring complications. But as long as you follow the rules, we'll all get along beautifully. That was the first red flag. The second came a week later in the form of a $75 fine for unauthorized plantings, 2 tomato plants in the backyard. The attached note read, "For the aesthetic harmony of our community." I paid it. I was the new guy. I didn't want drama. But the fines kept rolling in like clockwork. Grass measured at 2.8 inches instead of the sacred 2.5. Trash cans visible from the street for 11 whole minutes after pickup. The pool cover had a visible wrinkle one morning. Each violation slip came with the same condescending flourish: we all must contribute to the greater good. Then the whispers started. At the community mailbox. I caught fragments. Karen says the new single dad has baggage, better keep the kids away so it doesn't spread. Neighbors who once waved now cross the street. Playdates for my kids dried up. One mom actually pulled her daughter away from my son at the park, muttering something about following guidelines. I stayed quiet on the surface. Paid the fines. Mowed on schedule. Smiled at meetings while Karen preached about mutual respect and protecting property values. But every night after the kids went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table with a growing folder. Dates. Photos. Screenshots. Copies of every email. I researched state HOA laws until my eyes burned. Selective enforcement. Harassment. Defamation. Limits on fines. I printed case after case where overreaching presidents got sued into oblivion. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was patient. And I was watching. The isolation got heavier. Karen's little committee of retirees drove by my house slowly at odd hours, taking notes. Neighbors stopped making eye contact. The community I thought I'd bought into felt more like a surveillance state with perfect hedges. Karen loved to corner people at meetings and say things like, "We're all in this together, dear," right before slapping someone with another fine for the wrong shade of mulch. I endured it. I documented it. And slowly, a few brave souls started slipping me their own stories in the parking lot after meetings. The guy 2 doors down who got fined for a fence post being half an inch off. The single mom who was cited for her kid's basketball hoop being too visible. They were scared. But they were tired. I listened. I collected. Then came my son's birthday. It was nothing crazy, just a dozen kids from his class. A few parents. Burgers on the grill. Store-bought cake. In the pool. Laughter echoed across the yard for the first time in months. My daughter was cannonballing with her friends. My son was beaming. For a couple of hours. It felt like we were finally living again. The doorbell rang during the height of the fun. I opened it to Karen. Her face was already a storm of righteous fury and barely contained excitement. Behind me, kids were shrieking with joy in the pool. Mr. Ellis, she announced loud enough for the whole block to hear. This gathering is in direct violation of Section 4.2 of the Covenants. No events over 8 people without 30 days prior written approval. The noise level is unacceptable. And quite frankly, given your personal situation, this kind of disruption is exactly what the board has been concerned about. I kept my voice calm. Karen. It's my son's birthday. 12 people total. Mostly children. No loud music. No alcohol. This is my backyard. She lifted her chin. Eyes gleaming. The rules are the rules. We have to maintain order and protect the character of the neighborhood. I've already called the non-emergency line. The police are on their way. The smug satisfaction on her face was almost impressive. She truly believed she was the hero of this story, the brave defender of suburban perfection against the chaotic divorced dad. Neighbors started peeking from windows and porches. Some looked embarrassed for her. Others looked curious. The police cruiser pulled up a few minutes later. 2 officers stepped out. Already looking annoyed at the call. Karen marched straight to them. Officers. Thank you for coming so quickly. This resident is blatantly violating HOA regulations. We cannot allow this kind of unauthorized event to continue. It's a matter of upholding the integrity of the entire community. The lead officer glanced at the backyard full of laughing kids. Then back at Karen. Ma'am. This is a children's birthday party. What's the actual emergency here? Karen's voice rose into that signature shrill tone. The covenants are very clear. If we allow exceptions, the whole neighborhood will descend into chaos. I am the president of this association and I demand enforcement. I stepped forward with the thick folder I'd been building for months. Officer. Here's documentation of every fine she's issued me, over 20 in 5 months. Most for things like grass height measured to the millimeter or a slightly crooked pool cover. Emails where she references my divorce as a stability risk. Logs of her committee conducting surveillance on my property. And copies of the state statutes that prohibit HOAs from using fines as harassment or spreading defamatory rumors to isolate residents. The officer started flipping through the pages. His partner raised an eyebrow at Karen. Her face began to shift. The smug mask cracked. Those are all legitimate enforcement actions. He's twisting the facts to make me look bad. The second officer muttered. This doesn't look like a police matter. Then the sheriff arrived. He'd been called as backup and clearly wasn't in the mood for nonsense. He listened to Karen's increasingly frantic rant for about 30 seconds before cutting her off. Mrs. Mills. I've received multiple complaints about this association's practices. What I'm seeing here isn't enforcement. It's harassment. Stand down. Karen's mouth opened and closed. Her perfectly sprayed hair suddenly looked ridiculous under the bright afternoon sun. Her hands trembled as she clutched her phone. The neighbors were now openly standing on their lawns, watching the Queen of Oakwood Grove unravel in real time. But the rule's the greater good, she stammered. Voice cracking. The rules don't give you the right to bully people, the sheriff said flatly. This stops today. We'll be opening an official review. The look on her face in that moment, Wide-eyed panic mixed with dawning humiliation was pure satisfaction. The woman who had spent months painting me as the neighborhood threat was suddenly the one exposed. Small and ridiculous in front of everyone. In the weeks that followed, the dam broke. My documentation, plus statements from other residents who finally found their voices, triggered a full investigation. Karen had been misusing funds, issuing fines without board approval, and weaponizing rumors to maintain control. At the emergency HOA meeting, she tried one last speech about protecting our way of life. The room was ice cold. She was voted out on the spot. Her fall was swift and glorious. Former allies scattered. The committee disbanded. Property values didn't crash, they actually went up once people stopped living in fear. The neighborhood changed. People hosted parties without begging for permission. Lawns grew a natural inch. Kids played outside without worried glances. My daughter made friends again. My son invited the whole class over without drama. I sat by the pool one quiet evening, watching the sunset reflect on the water, and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, real peace. The lesson here is simple but brutal. Bullies don't wear capes, sometimes they wear pastel polos and quote covenants. They thrive when good people stay silent and pay the fines. But when you stay patient, document everything, and wait for them to overplay their hand, the mask always slips. And when it does, the fall is spectacular. Now I turn it over to you. Was I the problem for daring to throw a normal kid's birthday party and fighting back against the harassment? Or was Karen the real villain for turning a homeowners association into her personal dictatorship? Who was truly in the wrong here, the single dad who just wanted his kids to have one happy afternoon? Or the Karen who weaponized community standards to control and slander her neighbors? Drop your honest take in the comments. Did she deserve what she got? Or did the punishment not go far enough?